lots of tension and questions in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. This is all about the police-involved shooting of Andrew Brown Jr. His family desperately wanted to see the body cam footage of this, but for some reason, Elizabeth City officials, the police, the sheriff's office, and everybody else were really being strange about releasing this footage. So much so that they made sure to declare a state of emergency before anything was released. Now, the family is just now responding to a small portion of the footage that they've seen. We'll go to them in a moment. First, this here is the state of emergency.
Breaking news from Elizabeth City. Mayor Betty Parker has declared a state of emergency. It comes on the sixth day of protests they've started in response to the deputy shooting death of Andrew Brown Jr.
Now, these protesters are demanding the release of body camera video to the public. This comes the same day Brown's family is set to view that video for the very first time.
So remember this, when we saw the shooting that happened in Columbus, we saw the police respond within a matter of hours and go, here's all the info, here's the body cam footage. You see this young girl stabbing or attempting to stab some of her peers, and you see the officer step in and try to save their lives. But in this case, they weren't so forthcoming with the body cam footage. First, let's start, before we get into what's on that footage, the background of the story. North Carolina deputies who fatally shot a black man outside of his house obtained the search warrant that brought them there after investigators recorded him selling small amounts of cocaine and methamphetamine to an informant. So it was a sting, a small-end drug bust. The fatal shooting of Andrew Brown last Wednesday in Elizabeth City has prompted days of protests. Calls for the public release of the deputy body camera video, and civil rights leaders decrying that warrants shouldn't lead to a fatal shooting. Signs including emergency scanner traffic and an eyewitness account indicate that Brown was shot in the back as he was trying to drive away. But they have not released many details. His attorneys, including Ben Crump, who's virtually everybody's attorney in a situation like this, are demanding that body cam footage. And they just got a sneak peek. We'll get into more of that after this.
What is it on this video that is so damning that you will risk your career and risk losing your job so the people can't see the video?
10:29 this morning, an hour before the viewing, I get an email. Harry, I'm getting ready to do a press release. Have y'all seen a press release from me? Harry, ready to do a press release of the video is having some redactions performed. It will not be ready at 11:30. We are working on it hard as we can, but it takes time.
So they're saying, well, we can't give you the body cam footage because now, even though we promised it to you, we have to redact some of it. Finally, they did give them some of the body cam footage, and it wasn't a lot. But here is one of the attorneys of Andrew Brown Jr.'s family talking about what they saw on that footage. Now, I want to remind you, this is all of their takes. Their takes are going to be probably angled in one particular direction, and I would have been severely surprised if anybody came out of there and said, well, it was a justified shooting by the police. We wait. That's what we do around here. We wait for the information. But the shyness about releasing the body cam footage or additional details and declaring an emergency in Elizabeth City is a little bit strange. Here's the description of what was on that body cam footage.
Let's be clear. This was an execution. Andrew Brown was in his driveway. The sheriff truck blocked him in his driveway, so he could not exit his driveway. Andrew had his hands on his steering wheel. He was not reaching for anything. He wasn't touching anything. He wasn't throwing anything around. He had his hands firmly on the steering wheel. They run up to his vehicle shooting.
Sure did.
He still stood there, sat there in his vehicle with his hands on the steering wheel while being shot at. Now keep in mind, this is 20 seconds. I have 3 pages of notes for 20 seconds. We watched this over and over and over.
They did. They watched it many, many times. Just 20 seconds of footage was all they gave them. Family of Andrew Brown Jr. reacts after watching this body cam video. Now, what they're saying is in this footage, you could see him. He goes to drive away. The family says he was driving away because he was being shot at by the police. He then goes backwards and crashes into a tree in the front yard. The family watched the video 10 to 20 times. Attorneys now describing the 20-second video. Brown was in the driveway. Sheriff truck blocked the driveway. His hands were on the steering wheel. Deputies ran up to the car shooting. He finally tries to get away. Keep in mind, this is not this journalist's overview of what the video was like. This is the attorney for his family explaining what they saw. So you got to take some of this with a grain of salt. He was trying to drive away from being shot. Brown avoids officers with his car. Deputies were still shooting at him, used an AR rifle and several assault rifles. They were shooting at him even after he crashed into a tree. They were shooting at him before he drove out of the driveway. So that's what this particular journalist says. He's just recapping the family's attorney's response. Then they continue. We're going to destroy this system, and we're going to reimagine what it should be. Representatives for the family of Andrew Brown Jr. speak in Elizabeth City. The family is currently viewing the body camera video of his death at the hands of a sheriff's deputy. There are still protesters now into a week after this incident, and now this clip, this 20-second snippet of the body cam footage is likely to do nothing to resolve this situation. Here is Andrew Brown Jr.'s son. He said, "My dad got executed trying to save his own life."
It's like we against all odds in this world. My dad got executed just by trying to save his own life. You know, he was not in the officers was not in no harm of him at all. It's just messed up how this happened, man. For real. For real. He got executed. It ain't right. It ain't right at all.
So there's the son talking about this whole situation, and now we wait. And the thing that I think is of interest here is, why was the family not allowed to see this video? Why was there such a delay in showing them this? And then when they did, this footage was incredibly redacted. Just 20 seconds of footage. One could imagine just the cars arriving and stopping and the police officer starting to interact with Andrew Brown Jr. must have taken longer than that. So why the wait? Is it because they've seen what's on this video and they're scared how Elizabeth City is going to react to it? It very well could be. It could be a bunch of things. But what do you think about this case that is now developing? And what do you think about the potential for violence to follow? This is an interesting one, and it's going to be big, and it's mostly because of the way Elizabeth City has handled the release of the information about the shooting and certainly the footage. Contrast that, again, with what we were talking about in some of these previous cases where they rushed to get all the info out so that there wasn't a vacuum that people filled with rumors and anything else that they wanted to put out there, true or not. Give me your thoughts. I'd appreciate them. I like your comments. Whether you agree or disagree, I always try to check them out as best as I can. If you're new around here, share this video if you like it and you think it's informative. And follow along if you want videos like this each and every day. The biggest, most interesting, most insane stories brought right to you here. Facebook.com/TheNewsJunkies, the page. Hit that follow button. Or over on YouTube.com/TheNewsJunkie. Hit subscribe. We'll follow this story, and we'll talk to you again real soon.